house.
Yeah, we're coming, bringing presents on this Wednesday. The 17th. Good afternoon, Michigan football. And there he is, our own Santa Claus, Jim Scarcelli. Scar, happy holidays.
Happy holidays, D. Hopefully the Wolverines will be hitting the jackpot for Christmas with the best coach in the country.
Yeah, well, we know what everybody wants. I mean, so there it is. I mean, Santa Claus doesn't need to check the list, or you don't have to go sit on his knee or go to the mall or anything else. He knows what every Michigan fan out there wants. And will he deliver by Christmas, or is it going to be afterwards? The timing, we don't know about that, but we definitely have some coaches to talk about. And one of them is from the desert, Kenny Dillingham, KD, just one of the KDs that is the presumptive front runners for the Michigan job. There are others, but Kalen Deboer is also there up at the top. And Scar, my profile for this job, and you can go back. I've done, this is the third coaching search show that I've done, and the more you talk about it, the more you talk with other people, you kind of have your own feelings about it. I think the profile of this next head coach, I think he will have head coaching experience. And I don't think he's going to have any ties to Jim Harbaugh. I don't think he's going to have any. I think he's going to have head coaching experience, because in my experience, coaches that don't have any experience, when they go to the next coach, he usually does. So based on that, and Sharon not having any experience, it just makes sense to me that the next coach will have experience. So what are your thoughts on
because we just learned our lesson. Juwan Howard didn't have any head coaching experience, and then bam, we hit the jackpot, and then Sharon Moore didn't have any. So it seems like that's the trend with Ward. The blueprint, Denny, is experience. It's always been that way. But look, Michigan's done well. Gary Moeller was damn good, replacing Bo, and Lloyd did a pretty damn good job for a long time. And so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on who the guy is.
Right.
It depends on.
You go out there and identify, Sean McVay from the Rams. He didn't have any head coaching experience, and the Rams hired him. He was a young guy, and he was great. Look at it, how it's paid off for them. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't always work that way. I just see that because of how it went the last time, that it would be more like that. Makes sense to me. It also makes sense knowing everything that's going on with Michigan. And a lot of people are lighting a fire under Ward Manuel, saying how terrible he is and everything else. Well, he is making this a hire. It would make sense to me that the next coach wouldn't have any ties with Jim Harbaugh.
It's irrelevant. I've said that the other day with Dew. I honestly, I've always felt it. It's totally irrelevant whether you ever took a class at Michigan or not. Or coach there. Just be a damn good coach. Be the best coach. Whether you worked under whoever. That's
not really about being a Michigan man. We get that. And the Michigan man at this point right now, you look at it and it's probably not even working for you here, but it's the part about being under Harbaugh and everything that went on. Yeah, great. Okay. He delivered the national championship, but specifically Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter's, he would, to me, have no shot at this. He has no head coaching experience. Strike one. Strike two. He's a Jim Harbaugh guy. What are you doing? All of this stuff where you're bringing in a search firm, you're bringing in an investigative firm, all this stuff that happened under Harbaugh, it is all underneath the Ward Manuel right now. Ward Manuel, to me, it's reasonable if he would look outside. It's not, let's beat down Jim Harbaugh or on any of his hires. That's been done, and people continue to do it. But to me, Ward Manuel, when he's sitting in his office, I don't think that he's going to go that direction. To me, it's reasonable. So that's just my thought on that.
No, listen. If there was a guy that was under the Jim Harbaugh tree that was out there crushing it somewhere in college football, then we bring him in. But that's not happening right now. His probably most accomplished guy is Mike Macdonald, leading the Seahawks. We only had him for a year, but if Jim had a guy, then it would make sense. But he doesn't. There is nobody proven out there that's leading a college program that is a candidate. So there's a lot of great candidates out there, and there's no reason we got to stay. I totally agree with you, Denny. Absolutely. I get your point that just clear it out. Let's start over. I get that mentality too, but I understand that.
Let me go through and see what you think of Kalen Deboer. Now, Kalen Deboer, what he has going for him, he won at Fresno, he won at Washington, he's done a decent job at Alabama. He's coaching Oklahoma. It's weird because if he loses that game against Oklahoma, whatever you think about it, the chances are better that he's going to be the Michigan coach if he loses that game on Friday than if he wins it. It feels like they would have no chance. But the people have been over this a lot because he has been the leader along with Dillingham, who we're going to get to. But there's some folks, Scar, that have talked about that they don't want Deboer because he's pass happy and that the physicality will leave Michigan. And if you look at his offense at Washington, and he had Michael Penix, number 2, the year they played Michigan in the national championship game, number 2 in the nation passing, but then 104th in rushing. The year before, number 1 in passing, and then 68th in rushing. And then they only ran the ball 39% of the time. So you know what people are saying there. But then you go to say, all right, hey, Alabama, they recruit well. They got, 5 stars everywhere. And if you look towards last year, the rushing offense was ranked 39th, a little bit better, but it was still passing. And it wasn't, they were saying the Deboer philosophy, not strictly air raid. But if you look this year, it's kind of the fine print. But Washington has gone to, even though the numbers don't say it, almost a 50-50 split, 57-43 in favor of pass to run. And the passing offense was ranked pretty good. Not so much the rushing offense nationally. But look, if they're running it 52% of the time passing it 52% of the time and throwing it, that's pretty close to being 50-50, which is, what I think is what you're trying to achieve. So there's a lot of numbers and, you can get, caught up in stats and everything else. But what about the charge that Deboer's too pass happy?
Yeah, Danny, looking at that is interesting because I think, I give Ryan Day credit. We talked about this, that he has transitioned to more of a tight ends, fullbacks. He pounded us. He transitioned more to the things he was getting beat with this past year. I think that transition from Chip Kelly. So anyway, you're going to play in a Big Ten. You better be able to defend that type of offense. We're going to play Ohio State. We better be able to defend it. So how do you get a defense ready, willing, and able to defend it? They got to see it from our offense. So, yeah, there's some good stuff there. The thing about Deboer is, and this is a trait you have. The coach has to have this trait. I talked about. I was going to talk about Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, Danny, since he got out of Alabama, he is the one thing Lane Kiffin has done right, along with Deboer. He's done a good job identifying the right quarterback and getting them and coaching them properly. Deboer did it at Fresno. He got the right guy. So you got to have the skill and the ability to recruit the right guy. And you got to be able to develop them. And he did that at Fresno, and he did it at Washington. He hit the jackpot with Penix. But Penix wanted to play for him. You know what I mean, Denny? You look at Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin always had a quarterback. Always had a quarterback at FAU. He's always had one at Ole Miss. He lost his starter this year, and he's playing with his second-string kid, and he's still in the playoff. That's a talent that in college football now, you have to have that talent, Denny. You have to that position has to. And look, we got a guy that we think we can rally around. That Bryce can be that guy. I hope that's what this next coach believes. But I don't know that I answered your question, but that's a real skill that this coach has. It is a huge priority. So when you look at Deboer, I think he has checked that box. Now, the physicality of what he believes in from the run game, we pretty much stuffed his run game pretty good in the championship game, didn't we?
Yeah,
it's one of the big reasons we won that game.
I think their top back was hurt in that game.
Yeah, but I totally understand that mentality, and I would like to see a guy. Listen, you don't have to play that kind of football at Michigan. It's what we've done. We've been successful with it. People would like to, but I want it. I want it because I want to be able to defend, Indiana, Ohio State, Iowa. I want to be able to defend that stuff. As a player, I got to see it. Denny, I got to get a good look at it from my offense. I want to see tight ends and fullbacks that are good in smashing dudes in practice. That gets me ready to beat Ohio State, to defend that kind of offense. So I don't know if I answered your question about Deboer, but there's
a lot of people that I've seen the national people say, but he's not leaving Alabama. He loves it. His family loves it. He loves it and everything else. I feel like that if Alabama loses this Friday, that there's a chance, and that depending on what Michigan brings to the table, and that what Alabama's going to think about him after that loss. Emotions run high after losses and everything. You hate to put it all on one game, but this Friday's game is big. Now it's a weird thing because you're a Michigan fan. You look like, oh, he did this, he did that. He goes out and gets his teeth kicked in against Oklahoma. That's going to help Michigan's chances, and yet you're going to be watching and saying, we really want this guy. Like we were watching the SEC championship game, and he got smoked pretty good. Now he went to Georgia and beat him this year, but then he got, Georgia was able to get their revenge. And you're like, is this the guy you want? Couldn't even, barely score points in the SEC championship game. So I don't know. I still think there's a chance. It's not a home run, or it's not a sure thing.
But then he does check. Listen, he checks my box is preferred. Signetti is the prototype. He's the that's the type of deal for me. Proven at multiple levels is the best preference. I think he was 3 different stops proven. But people also, even though that's my preference, Danny, people also have to understand this. Jim Harbaugh went to San Diego. They were terrible. Built that little Division III program, built it up. Went to Stanford. They were terrible. Built it up. Went to the 49ers. They were terrible. Built it up. So when he came to Michigan, everybody was thinking, it's exactly what you would have on your chart. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Proven at 3 different levels, everything, But hell, it took us 6 years to get it right. And this is the one thing, Danny, I want to talk about. Another thing that's very important that I don't hear people talking about it. Okay, Jim, it happened twice here at Michigan in the last 20 years or so. When Rich Rodriguez got hired, everybody was this, that, or whatever, excited, this, whatever. But when I was looking at the names that were getting popped up after he got hired, there was one name I wanted to hear more than any of them, and it was his defensive coordinator's name. The guy's name was Jeff Castile. So I'm hearing all these names, Calvin McGee, offensive guy, Tony Dews, offensive guy, and then some other dudes. But at the end of the day, the guy that – trust me, I was a defensive guy, and I had my offensive guy, okay? You better bring that guy with you. The dude that won, that made you a marketable dude, you better bring that guy with you. Rich Rodriguez did not bring him with him. And I firmly believe – I would bet on it that if he would have brought that guy with him, for whatever reason, he didn't want to come. The other guy was able to keep him there. The guy that replaced Rich Rod.
Yeah, okay. They had him on a plane on the tarmac in Morgantown and to come to Ann Arbor, and he was.
Yeah, that's how important that guy was. Trust me. And the dude that replaced Rich Rod understood that. So that's one. And his Rich Rod would have been totally different with him. Second guy I want to talk about, which is very important.
Let me throw something at you with Rich Rod. There's somebody that's talking about, he was looking at the egomaniac and narcissist on Dan Dockage's podcast, Stallions. But his point, if this is actually what the Machiavellian character Stallion said, that you need everyone aligned, that's exactly correct. You need university alignment, and even more, and you definitely need that. And the other thing that you need is support from everyone in Ann Arbor, and Rich Rodriguez did not have that. I like Lloyd Carr as much as anyone else, but Lloyd Carr was bitter and they had factions, and the former players were working against them, and the former coaches, they were not supporting Rich Rodriguez. So supporting the new head coach, whoever it is, you need university alignment, and you need support from the players, former players, and former coaches. That's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And Danny, that's no different than high school and small college. It's everything. Business, it's all the same. Anyway, let me talk to another guy. When Jim got hired, everybody was excited. Okay. And I followed Jim very close. Okay. You know how he built Stanford? You know who his defensive coordinator was? Vic Fangio. You know, when he went to the 49ers, you know who his defensive coordinator was? Vic Fangio. So with the same thing when Jim was hiring guys, I'm looking at the names are trickling up, right? All these other dudes, right?
Yep.
No Vic Fangio. Same BS we went through at Rich. If Jim would have had Vic Fangio with him from day one, it would have been off and running earlier. I firmly believe that in both those cases. So here's my point that people need to believe and understand this. The guy, Kenny Dillingham, I don't know his defensive guy, but his strength has really been a great job with quarterback, finding the right quarterback, developing quarterbacks. And I haven't studied how well he's done on defense, but whoever the hell the guy is, we got to take a look at, his both sides of the ball and who's his key guy on that other side of the ball. You know what I mean? That's so damn important. I just want to throw that out there. That is another. We talked about the ability to always attract the right quarterback and then keep them and then train them. And then the other thing is make sure we're getting the other guy that's responsible for that coach winning, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Speaking of Dillingham, he's been a head coach for 3 years at Arizona State, 3-9 his first year, and then 11-3 last year, where he made the playoffs and almost beat Texas. You had Scadaboo there as his running back, and then 8-4 this year. If you go through his coaching career, he got hurt all the way back to high school, and he immediately started coaching a high school ball when he was in high school. So, that's he started young, Scar, and you go through and everything is about Arizona with him, his high school. Then he went to Arizona State, and here's his experience. Memphis, Auburn. I thought the interesting part about Auburn, reading about it today, is that Gus Malzahn brought him there, and he replaced Chip Lindsey as the offensive coordinator at Auburn. Quick stop at Florida State, out to Oregon for a year, and then now at Arizona State. He's only 35 years old.
Yeah, I think his key thing. Then let me just say this as a former high school head coach. You have guys work for you, and it's just like any other profession, man. There's some dudes that are just really, really intelligent, and they see things and they get things, and they coach the little things better than other guys. And I think he's one of them guys that impressed right away. His guy, I think his mentor is Mike Norvell, because he worked under Mike Norvell at Arizona State. He was a grad assistant or something. Yeah, but anyway, that was his first guy, because with when Mike Norvell went to Memphis, he took him with him. So when you want to study Mike Norvell was he's struggling at Florida State. He's been up and down there, but I think that's his mentor, at least one of his key guys. His high school coach is now on his staff at Arizona State. So he played under a championship high school coach who was a real good coach, but who is now coaching with him at Arizona State. But Norvell is one of his big mentors. And so then he went to Memphis, and but the thing about, if you look at Dillingham, Danny, which I really like, now he only has he has a small body of work as a leader. Okay. It's only 3 years, but he's worked under some really good people, and he's worked under good people, but you look at the quarterback play and the offensive production, the places he's been, I don't know, I haven't seen the damn stats, but I would guess that it's really good, wherever the hell he's been as a coordinator. So he's worked under Norvell, and it's a lot of the stuff, we're running a lot of that stuff, but that's a good coach. He worked under Gus Malzahn, Chip, our guy now, worked with Gus Malzone. Chip Lindsey worked with Gus Malzone. In fact, I think Dillingham replaced him at one of them stops. But then he went with so we go Memphis, we go Arizona State, met Norvell, has the connection there, worked with Norvell at Memphis. Then he went to Auburn. Those guys are in the same club, Denny. Believe me when I tell you, there's like guys that run the similar stuff. They all communicate with each other. They know each other. You know what I mean? You're in the same tribe.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. High
school guys that run straight T, they all hang out each other. It's a cult. You know what I mean? Okay, so he's in that Norvell. In fact, Malzone is with Norvell this past year because they're all in the same tribe. So then he went with Norvell to Auburn. Okay, then from Auburn, I bet he was part of that Bo Nix thing that went to Oregon, right?
Yeah.
So I bet you that was part of. He probably had a good relationship. This is another thing I like about this kid. Okay, I studied him, man. He was a really good recruiter. Okay, so he knows how to talk to people. He knows how to communicate, and that's probably what jumped out with Norvell right way back when he met the kid. You know what I mean? He knows how to coach. He knows how to talk. He knows how to communicate with kids and get the best out of kids. And so then Nix goes with him to Oregon. So I wonder if Lanning said, you know what, maybe it's a package deal. Maybe Nix had a good relationship with him, at Auburn. You follow me?
Yeah.
So that's what these guys, that's what happened in Oklahoma this past year. You hire the offensive coordinator, so you get the quarterback. So that means that what that tells you is Nix really liked the coach. He liked him, and Lanning understood that. So he says, the hell with it. I'm going to hire them both. I'm going to bring them both. If that's what I got to do to get this kid in here. I know I'm going on and I'm speculating.
Let me jump in. If you want to make a last point on
go ahead.
Dillingham, you can. But my last question for you on Dillingham, and I know you've discussed this on a podcast on Sunday night, but I'm thinking that if Dillingham is the choice for Michigan, that Levitt, who was his quarterback last year, who was in the transfer portal, that could be a package deal, and he could be coming in to Ann Arbor. That would seem like a likely scenario to me. What are your thoughts on that?
Denny, I presented it the other day. I mean, listen, there's a whole bunch of examples of it. Marcus Freeman gets the job at Notre Dame last year, right? So Marcus Freeman looks at the roster, highly recruited dudes. I don't know who the hell he had on that roster. He's like, you know what, man? I'm going to get Lincoln. What the hell is his name? Riley Leonard, right?
Yeah, from Duke. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he don't care. He don't care. Notre Dame fans don't care. You got to get the best guy. So, he looked at his roster. He said, "To hell with it. I'm going to get the best player at Duke who turned that program around with that coach. I'm gonna steal him." And they brought him in there to Notre Dame, and they went to the playoff. Right?
Playoff. Yeah.
So anyway. Okay, so you're asking. I brought it up the other day out of nowhere because I'm looking at. I've seen the kid play, and I was looking at the listings of rankings of quarterbacks. Denny, where do you think Bryce would be ranked in the portal as quarterbacks if he was in there right now? You think he'd be the number one kid? Would he be higher ranked than Levitt? That's all. I guess that's what I'm asking you. That's an interesting question, though. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is with Underwood, there's. I mean, if you're just looking at the ranking, and if you're just looking at this year, which you probably should, I would say that Levitt is more accomplished than Bryce. But the thing with Bryce is that let me ask you this question: if Underwood didn't play at all this year, and he was in the transfer portal, I think he would be number one. But since we've seen him play, and he went through the rough patches and everything, that I think that hurts him. But I think coaches understand that you're going to do your most, you're going to take your biggest leap between freshman and sophomore year, and he's had all that experience. So there's two things.
I disagree with you there, Denny. I think he started 12 games. I think he's more marketable than like Jaden Davis. Never played it down. You don't know what the hell you're getting with Jaden Davis. But I understand your argument.
I think you do know what you get with Jaden Davis.
No, I get it. I understand, but I think he's more marketable than he played. But that is. Listen, I brought it up out of nowhere, not knowing who the hell the next coach is going to be. But I did see Sam Levitt play. I saw Sam Levitt play, and he's freaking good. Okay, he's everything I don't want to defend. Okay, he's accurate and he's athletic and he's tough and he looks to be a smart, enthusiastic team guy. So those, if Dillingham's our guy, that would be an interesting decision he would have to make because Denny, the thing about these guys. In fact, let's talk about Jaden Davis quickly because I'm trying to get an understanding of how this works. Okay, so we signed Jaden Davis. Maybe we give him $300,000, right, as a fresh to come to Michigan. I'm just throwing out a number, guessing. I don't know. Let's say he gets $300,000. We're gonna see what the hell you're about, kid. We recruited you. Other schools are offering the same amount of money, so now we want you back because we need a backup quarterback. Okay, here's $450,000. We want you back. Well, we've seen you now for 2 years, and you know what, Jaden? I'm just speculating here on how the coaches think. Okay, we watched you for 2 years, and Jaden, I'm not so sure we want to shell out more than $50,000 for you in year 3. We're going to go with the young Carr kid, the Spielgate. What's the other kid they signed? The other young quarterback, Herb Street. That's just we've seen 2 years and we've seen enough. So we're not taking your scholarship. This is how they. I mean, back in my day, you wouldn't have been able to take the kid's scholarship, and they're still not taking his scholarship. They're probably just not giving them any NIL money. If that, I just wonder if those are tough conversations that these guys are having.
Yeah, I think so. I think you watch Jaden Davis, and he came in, and for whatever reason, some guys, if he would have been a quarterback in the 80s or maybe even 10 years ago, people wouldn't have been as down at him. Now you got to be ready to go. And with everything that was going on, he wasn't ready. And Michigan had the worst quarterback roster ever. And, there was talk that, his dad wanted to, didn't want him to play. And even though the coaches said that wasn't him, he had a side shot delivery that he never improved on. It was too long. So maybe he can get all that better and everything. So, good luck.
Let me say this, Danny. I'm going to say this about Jaden Davis, in my opinion. He's the kind of kid that could go to Miami, Ohio, go to Eastern Michigan,
Charlotte,
whatever.
Yeah.
And start 12 games. And at the end of the year, you're looking at that kid, you're like, he looks like Baker freaking Mayfield because he played game, he's got game reps. So in fairness to the kid, you can't really evaluate him on, what the hell we've seen in mop-up duty. So, but he could be the kind of kid, that is a little, physically starting to develop because he's definitely a bigger, stronger kid. I saw him at practice but I get it. He's moving on. And I just wonder how that conversation goes with the money. You know what I mean?
Well, besides, let's take the quarterbacks off and go back to the coaches here. So Deboer and Dillingham, we'll see what happens.
Anyway, Denny, I like them both. I like Kenny Dillingham because I think he's a real smart dude, man. And if you look at his track record, again, the only downside is he doesn't have a big body of work as a leader, but you can see the last 2 years have been real productive. Okay.
People want to know about other coaches, and I have taken Jed Fish off of my board. And again, this goes back to, he's got ties to Harbaugh. I don't think he's going to be here if I was a Michigan fan. In addition to that, I don't know. I didn't talk to Josh Henschke, the publisher of the Maize and Blue Review, but he said Fish is off out of the running. I don't know if that had to do with a search firm looking into some of his stuff at Arizona. I don't know. I had him off my board because of the profile and what I'm looking at. So I appreciate that people like him and everything else, but I think there's no chance that it's going to be Jed Fish. And I know that a lot of people, this is not the only podcast that you listen to or the other stories that you're reading. And the recently retired head coach at Utah, Kyle Whittingham. Now he's 70 years old or something, close to 70 years old. Hey, that's fine, whatever. But people are throwing his name out here. I don't think that Whittingham has any chance at being the next head coach at Michigan either. What do you think, Scar? Do you think would you hire?
He's a damn good coach.
Right.
They don't have as much resources. He's probably really running into NIL limitations over there. But he is a damn good, tough coach. You know, he's got Utah, BYU roots, and you know, he worked under Urban Meyer. He runs a physical. He wants to run the physical spread. You know, he came to Ann Arbor many years ago and beat the hell out of us. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
You know, so no, he's probably about 65 years old. You know, if you want to, he's listen, he's like hiring a guy like Fitz. You know, Michigan State hired Fitz. They're getting a guy that's got 20 years of experience. You know, he will know everything he has to do. Absolutely. He will know everything he has to do. He has a great body of work. He's been consistently good, Denny, and he's been consistently physical. You know, he was one of them guys that was beating USC a couple years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he was always playing physical. Them other guys were all playing spread ball. So his mentality is physicality. And you know, look, he's a damn good coach.
Yeah, here's the thing is he's 66 and has absolutely no ties to the Midwest. I know people they're looking at Dillingham and they don't care anything about that he can't locate Michigan on the map, but they don't care about that. They like that he's been named as a top recruiter and that he's young, and so people like that. And he might end up working out, but you know, the Whittingham is 66 years old.
Yeah.
And the only time he's been to Michigan is when he took his team here the one time. Fitzgerald's only 50 years old. 51 years old.
I'm just talking about from a mentality about the mentality of what they both believe in football-wise. They're both physical.
You'd hire a 66-year-old coach, Scar? You would hire
you know, Denny, that's the big question.
All right.
You know, I'm not in the interview room. I've been interviewed many times, you know, and I get it. But bringing your damn staff, the key guys with you is crucial. So whoever the hell I got to find out who Kenny Dillingham's top guy is.
Okay, Dillingham, no Deboer. Here's 4 names for you.
I've always said Brahm is way up. I've loved that guy from day one. Then he fits my profile, man. He won at Western Kentucky. Okay, took over some junk there, some dysfunction there, made him a winner. Then if you can win at Purdue in the Big Ten, are you kidding me? He turns around Purdue, you know, gets him in a championship game. He's a great quarterback coach. There is a physicality about him. You know, he's got Ron English, and I know both the guys that are his coordinators. He's got Ron English and another guy, I can't think of his name. He was at Indy. He coached at Indy, played at Indiana. Anyway, I like Jeff Brahm from everything on his resume. It lines up exactly with what I believe in, and he's he's tough and he's just a damn good coach, man. He's won. He's had good quarterback. He went out. Denny, another example. This guy right here. What court? You know, he had a decent year at Louisville this year. But who went to play for him? The kid from Miller Moss, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's my point is these really good quarterbacks that are out here in the portal, okay, money is one thing, but they want to play, you know, he played in the NFL. He knows his quarterback stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then Clark Leah is again, he turned around Vandy. It's only his only job as a head coach. I had him Danny, I know people beat me up about the guy from Kansas. Believe me when I tell you, that guy's still on people's list. The guy at Kansas. I know he's been struggling this past year, but Clark Leah, if you can win at Vandy, he brought in a great coaching staff. He found a way to bring the right quarterback in there. And Drinkowitz has won, man. Appalachian State, right? In Missouri. He went out and got the right quarterback. He stole Penn State's quarterback. And PJ, the thing about PJ's won. He won at Western. He worked under great people. And he's gotten Minnesota respectable. He's hung out of that job for like 9 years. And the question I have for PJ, you've done okay at Minnesota, Danny. What could he do with Michigan's money? You know what I mean? I've got to believe we got a hell of a lot more NIL money than he's working with at Minnesota. So that's just something.
Yeah, well, somebody wants to know who would be the best recruiter on that list, and so it's a lot different when you're recruiting at Michigan than you're recruiting at Louisville or you're at Vanderbilt. Or, I would think PJ Fleck seems like a tireless recruiter.
Put that list back up there because let's just say they're all offering the same amount of money. You got to ask that question. Let's assume they're offering the same amount of money.
All right.
Okay, now now you can really evaluate the recruiter so again, if you're a quarterback who wants to play in the NFL, Jeff Brom is a guy that can, academics might, I don't know if it matters, but Vandy, the great school, but all those guys are very personable, can recruit type guys. That's PJ's supposed to be a good recruiter,
Yeah, PJ's the one that I know the most just by interviews or whatever else. Very personable, tireless worker. I know that Wolverine jump is, I don't know if
he's Wolverine jump. No, whoever my man is right there, he definitely knows his homework. He knows Michigan. You want to talk about that name right there?
Let me just, for people that don't understand who Jim Stapleton is or how he would be in the mix. There was a lot of thought that Stapleton was the one behind the scenes that he wanted Harbaugh out. He didn't even want, that, and he wanted a black head coach, and so that was a racial from the start with Stapleton. And people might be accurate about that. I don't even, or there might be some truth to it. It could be accurate and all this. So I don't know if he's trying to be funny or not. But let me with Stapleton, I don't know how much influence he has right now. Who has the influence with Ward Manuel, Scar? Give me some.
Danny, I tell you, you got the search firm that Ward is working with the search firm. So what, you punch in your numbers, you punch in the criteria, proven winner, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Who can win with less NIL? I want a guy that can win who won with less NIL money. Because now if the guy has Michigan money, what the hell is he going to do with Michigan money? Yeah. So anyway, you punch in your numbers, you punch in what you want into that search committee group that you hire. But Denny, there's two names that I think, I don't know if people, I tried to research it. Who is Ward counseling? I try to answer that question. Who does he go to? Who's he talking to? Who are his, hey, what do you think about this? That I think the guy that's been with Ward forever is a guy named Doug Ganacki. So he's been with Ward forever. They go back to UConn. They might even go back to Buffalo. So people want to research him. That's a guy that is Ward Manuel is bouncing things off of him. And another guy I think that's real important right now, and I've met Sean, is Sean McGee, who's our general manager, money guy.
Yeah.
I think those are the two key guys, along with that search committee, group that, Ward is trying to dissect things and make this decision. So Ganacki and Sean McGee are key guys. Research them. You want to find out about who Ward's talking to.
All right. Well, there we go. That's where we're at. And
Danny, I want to throw one more thing, and then because I didn't follow up on it. You talked about some mess as to reasons people might not want to come here. Believe me, all this stuff played out for high school coaches too. Let me explain something to you.
All right.
It's all the same stuff. A high school coach would have success, and there's jobs open at here, there, whatever, right? Okay. Well, you do your homework, and you find out that they got a superintendent that's an idiot. They got an athletic director that wants to do fire guy, whatever. So the thing that I don't know, we're reading things. Okay, we're all reading stuff, this, that, or whatever. Jordan Acker, I hear his name. Jordan Acker. Okay, is that a guy that Jeff Brown wants to work with? If he starts reading them texts that he said about Jim Harbaugh 4 years ago, you remember that?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Okay, I know I'm bringing up dirt from the past, but it's relevant now because the guy's still there. You know what I mean? And and you threw out another name, or you just threw out the Stapleton name. I don't know. Those are things that coaches have to consider. You come to Michigan, you want to have your athletic director that's going to fight for you. Okay, you got your guy. You sit down with him. That's your guy. Everything you need, He's your guy. He's going to fight for you. And you don't have some other dudes over here throwing arrows at you, throwing knives at you. Okay, because coaches are going to definitely communicate. In fact, some of those names on that list, Denny, I'm going to tell you what I would do if my name was on that list. You know, one of the first phone calls I'm going to make. Who the hell would you call, Denny? If your name was on that list, what's the first phone call you would call?
Jim Harbaugh.
Damn right. Frickin' Jim Harbaugh is the first name I would call. What's it like to work with this guy? What's it like to work with that regent? You know what I mean? What about the Bernstein? And I'm hearing his name. You know what I mean? But I'm hearing Acker a lot. So those are questions that just like anybody else, Denny, interviewing for a job in any capacity in America for any form of work, you're going to do your homework on the people you're going to work for, right?
Well, this is why if people are very optimistic, it's that you say, well, Michigan's a top 10 job. Look at the NIL. That looks like they have that going on. Obviously, great stadium and everything else, and being in the Big Ten. Those are all the good things. But if you're looking over on the side, these coaches are going to be like, how much influence? What's up with this Stapleton guy? And then you are going to talk about the regions now. And Acker specifically, who seems like he's trying to sabotage or he wants to be a bigger voice than really he is. It's hard to get rid of those guys. Looking at how to displace a regent, it's tough. So, it looks like he's going to be around, doing whatever he wants to do. So you do have that. Now, each and every school, they have figures like this, and, you have to deal with them. Harbaugh was, he faced those guys. He always was, talking about but
Denny, the head coach has to have the AD deal with all them guys. I want to coach the team. You keep them buzzards away from me.
Good point.
Okay, I was a head coach and I was an athletic director. The athletic director's job.
There you go, Scar. You've just ring the bell, though. What about the idea that Manuel is pretty much a lame duck? He's going to make this hire. And then everybody's going to say all the garbage that went on. Sure, you can talk about the successes and everything, but all of the Matt Weisses and everything that went on with, Stallions and everything else, that's all on Manuel's watch. It's time for a break. They'll give him that, his contract that's signed through 2030. He's got close to $10 million there, and they're going to say goodbye. Well, the next head coach is going to be like, who's going to be the next AD?
Yeah, I get it. Well, Denny, if they're going to, I don't know. Yeah, I hear that. And you definitely, if I'm one of them guys that they're interviewing right now,
yeah.
I mean, I got to have a rock solid Ward Manuel. I mean, we got to be connected from the hip, man, because that is the key deal there.
But what do you think Ward Manuel's telling the next head coach when?
Well, he's got to get them to believe that he's going to keep all the buzzards away from Schembechler Hall. Just coach the damn team. Let me take care of this riffraff. I'll take care of your light work and get you what the hell you need to win. I'll get you what I want to hear if I'm the coach. I want Ward Manuel and Sean McGee and Joe Lynn and Portnoy. Just give me that stack of cash and give me everything I need at Schembechler Hall and let me go to work. And then you keep these other clowns out of here. That's what the hell I wanted when I was coaching.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
Hell yes, there is, Wolverine. There's all kinds of, there's all kinds of behind the scenes stuff that you don't want to have to deal with as a head coach. Okay, but that's what you look for in a great work environment. But that's where the great AD, can handle all that stuff. Jim Hackett was pretty damn good at handling a lot of that stuff. And hopefully Ward has to be able to convince the guy that he's going to handle that. That don't worry about it.
This is a good point and I agree with that. That's I think I don't know how to say this guy's name. Jesus, I've been calling him. This is a multi-time appearance for Jesus. He says, I don't think Jim would have much good to say about the administration. I agree with that.
Well, but you got to make the call, though. I mean, you have to hear it out. I would hear him out because I guarantee you, Jeff Brown knows Harbs and all them guys. They're all in the same clique. Coaches talk to each other, and he whatever. Yeah, it's probably a good point, but it's definitely a phone call that we would all make. We would all make that call to someone in our profession that give us some advice.
Dave's not hearing any of it. He says money is going to be the key factor, and the coach is expected to raise it.
Yeah, I don't see that's something that, that the coach doesn't want to have to deal with. You'd like to go into that interview with Sean McGee where Sean McGee says, hey, listen, I deal with Joe Lynn. I deal with Larry Ellison. I deal with Portnoy. I deal with these guys.
That's right.
Maybe you might say, come to a golf come to something wherever they are and let me know. But the bottom line is, I'm not picking up the phone talking to Portnoy. I don't want to do that as a coach. Let Sean McGee handle all that BS. Let Ward, you know what I mean? You just don't want to do that when you're the coach, Denny.
Yeah, well, I have a friend that says that Saban would have stayed around if it wasn't for the NIL is really important, but Saban didn't want to go around all the cocktail parties and all this, and he just wanted to coach football.
Trust me, I get it. I had to do a lot of that BS too. It's all the same stuff, only on a smaller level. I hated hobnobbing with people that are going to throw money at you, but it's part of it. It's something you got to do. You don't like doing it,
right? It is something you got to do. That is part of it.
Yeah, that's where McGee, that's where McGee in the interview process with the guy says, hey, look, man, this is my job. I'm going to raise this money for you. And you don't have to deal with a lot. You coach the damn team. You get your coaches ready, get your players. So yeah, what else, Danny? I don't know, man. It's a lot of stuff going on. And
well, I'm excited for not only the holidays, but I was just looking at the sports schedule for the next 4 days. I mean, you like football. I mean, it's awesome. And so the Michigan coaching search, it's not draining me. It's energizing me. I like it. Friday is going to be a key day. Over the weekend, what's going to happen until Monday? We should have some more clarity at that point. I think we're going to have a lot more clarity. So
I think, Benny, I think something we don't hear a lot of people talking about, Bo, the donors, the big donors, you just wonder if they're getting a phone call about these potential hires. Hopefully they don't have to have a phone call.
Let me ask you a question, Scar, because the people said, the big donors, they're going to be kept in the loop if they are really feeding, prime of the pump and everything else. But you already mentioned Portnoy, and he employs Gruden, so he's been around Gruden, so he loves Gruden. I can see how somebody could really like John Gruden if they worked with him, and everything else. So I think John Gruden has 0% chance of being the next Michigan coach. But Portnoy also has he could talk to Joe Lynn, and what if the Joe Lynn and Larry said, yeah, that is who we want. What if they?
Yeah, well, that's
what
I get it, man.
Well, what would happen there, Scar?
Yeah, that's again. I was an athletic director, and you got to make a decision based on whatever. If it's 50-50, if you got a coin flip, it's an easy one then. Okay, I get it. You know what I mean? If I have two good choices, but yeah, that's we don't know.
For me, the Portnoy and the money and all that's a factor, but I would say that Gruden is toxic and he's off the list because of what happened in the NFL. So, Dave, as much as we like your support for Michigan, who else do you want? Because Gruden is the non-starter. That's what I would say to him. But, look, it's easy for me to say that sitting up here if somebody's waving $100 million or $200 million around.
Yeah, I'm sure when they mentioned that name Gruden, I imagine they would have run it by just to get a little feel for what some of the players would have thought. There'd be maybe ways to get some feedback from the players, the black guys, based on what he said, about that the guy in the NFL office. You know what I mean? You know what the hell I'm talking about. So
I looked at some of the emails, and
you wonder if that would be an issue when he goes in to recruit and he's got to go in them living rooms and talk to parents. So it's a damn good point, Danny.
Right. I always wanted, because Michigan with Fitzgerald, part of the whole thing, and I know he got cleared with the hazing and everything else, but part of that hazing was specifically towards some black athletes and what they were hazing them with.
Yeah.
And, and so if I'm a black, I wonder the black athletes are going to look at Michigan State and they're going to be like, oh yeah, he's cleared of all that. We're good. Let's go up there and play with him. I don't know. I don't know how much that's going to
Yeah, I
factor.
don't know. They made their decision. I'm trying to think of but Danny, you always heard me talk about Jeff Brown.
I have. Let me ask you what DJ Pizza is saying. Pepperoni, Scar? You like pepperoni? He wants to know if Underwood is involved at all with who the next head coach would be. It's an interesting question. What do you think?
Man, if again that is a question for Ward Manuel. Okay, so that's the kind of question that the leader has to decide. Do they want this kid in? I've had interviews where there were players in on interviews, and they're asking questions but that's if they're bringing the coach in to interview and you've got like six players there and they're there for maybe like 15 minutes of part of a long, 6-hour interview. And Ward said, you know what, I'm going to bring 8 guys in that are coming back, 4 from offense, 4 from defense, and Underwood was one of them. That would be appropriate because I've been in interviews like that where there were players that asked questions. But if I'm Ward, I don't want just him. You know what I mean? That's not. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I just don't think that's good for the kid to just.
I could see a scenario, Scar, where maybe you're not bringing him in saying, okay, now we're bringing in Underwood and he's going to sit across from him. But let's just say it's Dillingham and they've already had some conversations and then they're going to have more. Can you say, hey, we got a 3-way chat going right here. How about we bring in Bryce? What do you guys think? I think that could be something that would be beneficial.
I think every guy they bring in, Denny, is going to be just a damn good coach who has dealt with great players for a long time, and they will know. If it's Deboer, man, he had Penix. If it's Dillingham, he's had Levitt, and he turned him into a player. That's one of the things I really like about Dillingham, Denny, is he had a guy that Michigan State did not want. He went out and got him. He probably had a connection with him from recruiting at Oregon. You know what I mean? Because he's the kid. I think he was from Oregon. But anyway, I just like that where he brought a guy in that maybe wasn't the best player, but for Michigan State because they didn't want him. He goes over here and he looks like an All-American playing in his offense, in his system. And but I'm trying to think that through, Denny. If I was the head coach and you're going to just give me this one dude to talk to, I don't think it's a good look.
Okay. Yeah, well, I wanted that honesty from you. Do you have
give me 8. You give me 8. If Ward had 8 guys out there that are coming back, 4 on offense, 4 on defense, the culturally diverse group of kids, you want to have that. Okay. And you say, okay, all right, guys, you all got one question. And you're out of here in a half hour, okay? And then that's it. Get the hell out of here. Now we're going to get into some other stuff after they leave. But that would be totally appropriate. In fact, it would be actually kind of good. But don't give me one kid.
Okay. There's a lot of comments coming in here. Now, I said Whittingham. To me, 66 is going to be too old. I believe that's also how old Anise is up at Ferris State.
Tony Anise, all he's ever done is one. I know, Denny. I go way back with Tony Anise. When I first became a head coach, Tony Anise was speaking at a clinic. He was like a 2nd or 3rd year head coach, and I was just the head coach, and he was speaking at a clinic, and this dude was brilliant. And you know what? I just never forget it because then I heard this guy speaking. I'm like, man, I got to compete with guys like that. And he was freaking brilliant. You know what,
Scar? I like Bill Cowher and Jimmy Johnson too. Are we bringing those guys back to coach?
No, my point is this Tony Anise would be like hiring Jim Tressel. That's what he would be. I know Ferris maybe ain't quite Youngstown State, but people laugh at Jim Tressel, but Tony Anise is a winner everywhere he's been. It's I know a lot of Bulldogs too, man. They don't want to see that guy go, but no one's giving him a shot. He's a brilliant coach at Ferris
Well, how
State.
old is too old for you? Are you sitting there, your reward, or they're like, well, Bill Cowher's interested in the job, And Bill Cowher's
No, I get it, man. I get it, Denny. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Age is about how healthy is the guy, how strong is he, how's his, is he fired up? Is he going to work the 16-hour days? I don't know.
That's what that's a good answer. I didn't know you were going to say that. It comes down to energy, and not every 66-year-old guy is, 66 years old. You're 45.
I mean, I got recruited by Muddy Waters. You guys remember him at Michigan State?
Yeah. Well, I know the name, sure.
No, but I remember the guy was, he was older, man. He was falling asleep. He's at the. Well, my old man was talking to Schembeckler the night before. He's pounding the table, and here comes Muddy. He's falling asleep at the kitchen table. You know what I mean? In fact, a guy that recruited me, Denny, was a damn good coach. I know Michigan people don't like him. Was Mike White in Illinois? He just died the other day.
Yeah, Mike White. Yeah, my
brother played for him, and he was a damn good coach. Which candidate can crush the most pizza? You got to bring Wink in. Bring Wink into that gig.
That's a good point. Look how old the president. The presidents were. That's going on. So if the president can run the country, then maybe Winningham and an East that's 66 is okay. And I'm going to leave you with one point, and it's a story. It's got nothing to do with football. But you said falling asleep. I've got a nice Christmas dinner set up. The Gandy dancer over the weekend. I'm looking forward to that down in Ann Arbor. And then I'm also going to see the Nutcracker Scar. My daughter is starring in it. And my wife had asked me if I'd ever seen the Nutcracker, if I was familiar with it. And a long time ago, I went to the Nutcracker with this girl I was seeing, and I fell asleep during the Nutcracker. And she told me that not only did I fall asleep, but I was snoring. And she was the first. She was the first girl that ever told me that. She's not the last, but she was the first one that told me that I was snoring. It didn't go well after that. But I thought that Nutcracker and her telling me that I snored. She wasn't the last.
Yeah, you're more of a, hey, let's go see a hockey game. Let's go see a basketball game kind of guy. I'm not much of an opera guy either, Danny. I'd be falling asleep.
I'm gonna get a coffee at the Nutcracker this time. That's why I want to make sure I don't want to fall asleep.
But time frame, Danny, the big thing is you'd like to think the portal day opens up. When do you know when that portal day opens up?
I think it's the
2nd of January.
Correct. I believe that's
wow. It. So it's really counting down, and you'd like to have your staff. Coach Scar can pound some pizza, boy.
And you can pound some pizza.
Oh yeah, Danny, I'm legendary. But you'd like to have your staff. The earlier you can get them, the earlier these guys can get on the film and start evaluating guys. Oh, he says okay, it's the 2nd to the 16th. So yeah, it's really crucial. So your coaches can start breaking out that film. I mean, look at Lane again. Lane found a guy at Ferris State. You know what I mean? You got to look at a lot of film, man. So that.
All right. Well, I got one more question for you. You got a winner out of all these games that are coming up? These first rounders.
I think Oregon's going to crush James Madison. They're going to beat them by that game. Will be out of control.
All right, Oregon.
Other than that, Denny, it's all good, man, and go blue, man.
There he is.
Are you going to stay on, Denny? You going to stay on, or are you checking out too?
This is it. It's over.
All right, brother. Go blue, man.